อันนี้คือมาชาวโกดิสคัฟเวอรี่ที่ค้นพบทองครั้งแรกในแคลิฟอร์เนียซึ่งอยู่ในอเมริกันริเวอร์ที่เขามาตั้งโรงเลื่อยไม้ค่อมลำน้ำใช้ลำน้ำเลื่อยมาแรงน้ำผลักดันใบเลื่อยให้หมุนเลื่อยไม้ก็เลยเจอทองที่นี่อันนี้เป็นมิวเซียมซึ่งอยู่ในบริเวณของลำน้ำอเมริกันริเวอร์เป็นพื้นที่ที่กว้างใหญ่ก็จะแสดงเครื่องตำหินให้แตกให้เป็นทองอันนี้ก็เป็นมิวเซียมอันนี้ในมิวเซียมในปี10คนพื้นถิ่นก็เป็นอินเดียนแดงพื้นถิ่นเป็น848ริมแม่น้ำก็อินแดงลำน้ำอยู่ตามภูเขาป่าสนปลา
Even when the tannins out, it's an acquired taste. Yeah. That's lots of food, right? But this is where they would grind those acorns.
Oh, I see the hole.
Yeah. So this is a very sacred area to the Native Americans here in the area that their families the varmints away, but they would put cedar all around it. And cedar's a natural insect repellent, so that kept all the insects out of it. So they would store the acorns over the winter, and they'd start grinding them beginning of summer, and they were dry. So this is what they lived in, and they're made out of it's made out of bark, mostly because they didn't have to be portable. You know, on the plains, the Native Americans were they migrated with the seasons and with the game and everything, so they had to be. They were either here or they went to Tahoe. And when they left here and go to Tahoe, they would burn these down. Well, then you have all these bugs that would be in there with them. And when they come back, it'd be more trouble. It was easier to rebuild it.
Every time they burn.
Yeah, every time, every year.
ย้ายลงแล้วก็เผาทิ้งเลย
Yeah, yeah. Now, see, this one was built by the Native Americans about 20 years ago. and you can see it's all held together with vines and everything. Of course, it is to tie this all together.
อันนี้เดือนแดงท
They Nissan, my do, yeah. Yeah, so, and then, like I said, these small groups. There might be up to 8 of
ำมี
these
กลุ่ม
family
เล็ก
groups.
ๆ หน้าร้อนก็ลงไปที่เลกทาโฮเดินข้ามภูเขาไปเลกทาโฮพวกไมคอกนิสัน
Area have usually a roundhouse where they would all get gathered, you know, for different functions and stuff. Yeah, like a community center, right. So, Sacramento named John Sutter, who wanted to build a town. He wanted to build a town of New Helvetia where Sacramento is. So to do that, he had to have wood to build buildings, to build his grist mills. So what he had to do was figure out a way to get wood. So there was another man that was working for him at the time who was James Marshall. And so James Marshall and Sutter partnered because James Marshall was he was a craftsman. He could do just about everything. He was a wheelwright, blacksmith, carpenter. He just about did everything. But he told Sutter that, you know, I have worked on sawmills before, but I've never built one. But I'll show you a design of one, and he drew one up for him. So they partnered.
โอ้พาร์ทเนอ
Why
ร์
did they come up here? They had to come up here because in the valley, most of the wood is not only crooked, but it's harder woods. Up here, we have the straight pines that are soft, easier to cut, easier to work with, easier to build. When they came up, of course, the first thing they had to do was build a cabin.
อ๋อ build a cabin
Yeah, that's the mill workers' cabin. They enlisted the help of the Native Americans to help them dig the raceways. It's a canal that goes from the river, which would go underneath the mill, and then back to the river.
อืม
Because the mill wasn't right on the river, because they wanted to be able to control the water that was flowing under the mill. So when you get over here, you'll see what a raceway is. That's what they called it, a raceway. Measurements, so they didn't really know how big it was. But they did because they found some of the timbers from the original mill, and there's a building over here that houses some of them. But that's the original spot, right there where that rock wall is. It's lumber. Yeah. So you see where the rock wall is right now. It's
Okay.
right on the river.
I see
But it wasn't on the river. You see that picnic bench over there on the other side of the river? Yeah, there's a picnic bench sitting up there on the... Okay, the river actually was on the other side of that. There was a big... To run the mill. So he did. They dammed it back up in the morning. He took his walk, and on his way back, he saw something glitter in the water, and he picked it up. And of course, they do all the things, you know, smashed it with a rock because gold is very malleable. And fool's gold is very brittle. So if he would have smashed fool's gold with a rock, it would have shattered. But the gold, and then he bit it, you know, he did all the things. He comes back to the guys and he says, "Hey, I think I found a gold mine."
โอ้
And so they all did the same thing. And then Jenny Wimmer says, "Let me have it." And she put it in a pot of lye that she was using. She had the lye for making soap. So she boiled it in the lye. Well, the thing about gold is it doesn't tarnish. So gold is this color no matter what you do with it. It stays that color. So she put it in there to see if it would wash away or wear away any falsehoods of the gold. So when she took it out, it was still the same. So they realized it was gold. So now Marshall goes down to Sutter and tells Sutter, hey, we found gold up there. And Sutter goes, because if people find out that we found gold, they're going to want to go up there. I'm not going to get wood for my city, my new Helvetia. So let's keep this quiet. So Sutter and Marshall came back up and they talked to the guys that were here and told them, you know what, on your own time you can pick up all the gold you want, but let's keep it quiet so I can get wood to build my town. So they all agreed. Wouldn't you agree if it was just 5 of us? Yeah, picking up all this gold? So there was a delivery up here and they paid him with gold, which was not uncommon to use gold as monetary for payment. But what was the problem was the kids said, yeah, we find that stuff up here all over. So now the Teamster goes back to Sutter's Fort and says, hey, there's gold up there. Well, Samuel Brennan, who was an elder in the Mormon battalion, he came up here to talk to the men. They go, oh yeah, we find it. They showed him the gold. So he was the editor of the paper down there. So he wrote a little article about gold being discovered. Well, that really didn't do anything. So what he did was he went up and he bought everything to do with mining, whether it was tents, pans, wheelbarrows, picks, shovels, cooking utensils.
จีนมาทำงานขุดทองเป็นแรงงานขุดทองอยู่ที่นี่แล้วก็ตั้งถิ่นฐานอยู่ที่นี่นี่เป็นของโบราณเลยที่คนจีนเข้ามาอยู่ในมาเป็นคนงาน
So placer mining was, like I said, it was loose, right? So I mentioned that this whole area is ancient riverbed. It's because the river changes direction all the time. So what they're doing here, this is called a coyote hole. And it was not hard rock mining. It was just digging straight down to bedrock. And then they'd move over here and do the same thing and fill that hole back up with what was left. They would take this and put it in a long tom, or they'd use a rocker. But now what was happening here, water washed it. There were little sticks across here. There was usually canvas. You can see there's still pieces of canvas here. And the reason is because gold is 19 times heavier than water, and it's about 10 times heavier than anything in the area. So it settles real fast, so it's going to fall. So that's what's happening here. It goes down to, this would be a long tom, and at the end they would have like a sluice box, and that's the sluice box would be this portion at the end where the gold would gather. So these guys would form, this is a company. These guys would all work, and as they worked together, they all got a working share. So that meant whatever they made that day, they divided equally. But this guy here might belong to this company over here. So as he works here, he gets a working share. Here, he doesn't get a working share, but he still gets a share. A smaller share, because he's still part of the company. The problem, we have a state park called Malakoff Diggings, and it looks just like that today. And they quit working. Was they'd wash all this stuff down, they'd go through their long toms, and they'd get all of the gold-bearing ore and take it to a stamp mill. But they had to be, in 1884, they passed a law that says you are responsible for runoff. So that meant they had to build reservoirs. And the reason they had to be responsible was because what was happening, all of this stuff was going down into the river, getting down into the valley, raising the riverbeds, and flooding every year. So the farmers said, hey, we can't put up down to the mountain and put it in an ore cart and run it down through the mine over to a stamp mill or a crusher first.
มันน่ะเข้าไปในนั่นจริงๆเลยฮะ
So now that crusher or that ore would be dumped into the crusher. And this crusher would crush this rock, those big rocks, down into about 2 inches and smaller. Now that went into a stamp mill.
เจอทองมีแมปกับรูเวอร์
สีม่วงสีชมพู
นี่จุดนี้เลยนี่ก็เจอทองเป็นโรงเลื่อยไม้จะจุดตรงเนี้ยจากแม่น้ำจุดนี้เลยเนี่ยเขาทำหินค่อมไว้ลงเลื่อยไม้ทางว่าน้ำมันท่วมก็เลยทำเป็นอนุสรณ์ซัตเตอร์มิลลำน้ำแม่น้ำอะที่พบทองโอเค1848 เดือนจันยูรี่เดือนมกราคม